Hello, everyone, and welcome to 3BL Media and Triple Pundit's Learn From Home webinar series. Thank you so much for spending part of your morning or afternoon with us. Today, we're talking all about what's new with the reusable packaging platform Loop, which launched last year at the World Economic Forum's annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland. Loop essentially takes us back to the milkman system. Shoppers can choose from food, household, and personal care products from mainstream brands, and the items are delivered to their door in reusable containers packaged inside a reusable tote. When the containers are empty, they simply place them back into the tote and they're picked up, washed out, and used again. Consumer goods brands including Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, and Danone were among the launch participants, and UPS signed on as Loop's logistics partner, handling deliveries and pickups. Loop was a runaway success during the pilot phase in Paris and New York City, and it has since rolled out to 15 US states and Washington, DC. And there is a nationwide rollout across the entire continental US planned for later this year. In many ways, Loop's success was really not surprising, as market research has shown consumer sentiment trending away from single-use plastics in recent years, as images of waterways and ecosystems choked in plastic waste circulated in the media. But then, of course, came the novel coronavirus pandemic, and with it, a documented resurgence in single-use plastics. Cities including Philadelphia, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Bellingham, Washington, have temporarily delayed or suspended their plastic bag bans out of fear that the virus could transfer from surfaces to reusable shopping bags and ultimately infect consumers. Retailers such as Starbucks have temporarily banned reusable cups out of similar concerns for health and hygiene. So much so that last month, a group of 119 international scientists released a statement reminding consumers that reusable items are no more likely to spread the virus than disposable ones, as long as they're cleaned effectively. And this brings us back to Loop. Today, for this plastic-free July edition of Learn From Home, we're honored to be joined by Anthony Rossi, Vice President of Global Business Development for Loop, and Patrick Browne, Director of Global Sustainability for UPS, to discuss what's new with Loop in the time of COVID-19 and how reusable systems like this that ensure health and hygiene can help to maintain consumer confidence around reusables and avoid any backslide on single-use plastic as a result of the pandemic. We'll be pausing for audience questions in the middle of our conversation. If you have any questions for Tony or for Patrick, you can submit them at any time in the green box below. Tony and Patrick, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure, Mary. Thank you.
Great. Our first question is for you, Tony. As we sort of just talked about a little bit, we've started to see an uptick in a lot of single-use plastic use during the pandemic. There are concerns about surface transmission. A lot of people are assuming that a disposable item might be safer for them. And I'm wondering how you feel that a solution like Loop, which sort of bakes health and hygiene and that element of consumer confidence into the system while providing an alternative to single use, can sort of help to change mindsets and avoid losing any prior gains that we've made in this area.
Mm-hmm. For us, I think if you go a little bit further back, pre-pandemic, and you look at people's innate desire to be more sustainable in their own lives. Nielsen actually did some great studies on why people were wanting to become more sustainable. And what they saw was that it was their own personal health that drove them to want to be more sustainable. So I think that shows why Loop has become so popular, and why at the beginning of the pandemic, we did see an uptick in single-use plastics and people reverting to habits that they may have shooken off over the last couple of years in their attempt to be more sustainable. So I'm not surprised, because health and hygiene and safety is so important to both consumers and to companies making these products. I think for us at Loop, our desire has always been to eliminate waste, right? We truly believe that reusability is the answer, and avoiding products and packaging from becoming waste in the first place is what needs to be done. And I think in our model, as we've tried to build it, we wanted to replicate the single-use experience, to bring that convenience to consumers, but also to bring health and safety to the forefront as well. With Loop products today, they are returned to us at Loop, and our core competency in this platform really is to clean and to sanitize these packages so that they can be sent back to the manufacturers to be refilled again in a professional, clean setting before they get back into the hands of the consumers. So I think the pandemic really accentuated our model of reuse. I hope as we continue to grow and perhaps come out of this pandemic, there are many different types of reuse, but I think ours particularly has been accentuated during this time.
Absolutely. And I think that we're all adjusting to this new normal, and certain changes in behavior are to be expected, but it's great to know more about a reusable system such as yours that does bake these safeguards into the way you're operating, and really let people know that, hey, it is more likely to, excuse me, I'm so sorry about that. Working from home, speaking of what, it's great to learn a little bit more about what you all are up to. But, Patrick, I'd love to turn to you as well. UPS was an early partner of TerraCycle, the founder of Loop, their mail back programs for hard to recycle waste. And then, of course, came on as the logistics partner for Loop. And I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about why UPS is focused on reducing single-use packaging and some of the sentiments that you may be hearing from consumers around single-use plastic during this time.
Yeah, well, first of all, can you hear me okay? Nod your head. All right, good. So TerraCycle has been a UPS customer for years. So when we heard about Loop and this program, we were so excited to use our deep knowledge and expertise in packaging to help design them, right? And help them as they were developing the Loop and design of the packaging, both the inner packaging and the outside packaging. So keep in mind, right, this whole Loop concept is about replacing the single-use plastic where the consumables are housed in, but it's also about the reusable packaging for the shipping material too. So we're extremely excited about that. UPS, we don't manufacture products that require packaging, but we do play an important role in helping our customers create more of a sustainable packaging solution. So specifically around the pandemic, we have not seen any notable uptick from customers about single-use packaging. However, packaging solutions still tend to be a topic of interest in general for our customers. Right? It's about using the right size packaging materials. It's about reclaiming products at the end of life, or simplifying the returns to minimize waste. Some examples of some of the things that UPS is involved in around packaging solutions. We have an eco-responsible packaging program where we will evaluate the packaging processes to determine the best way to protect the products that are being shipped while choosing materials that reduce the overall impact on the environment. As one. And again, customers are always coming to us about trying to figure out different solutions around packaging. We do have some packaging. I call that, we have some packaging that we do supply our customers. I call that the UPS branded packaging. So if you see the UPS logo on the outside of an envelope or a box, that is basically UPS supplied packaging. We don't supply a lot of packaging to our customers, but the packaging that we do supply them, we were one of the first in our industry to develop environmentally preferred packaging. We worked with the Environmental Defense Fund, I'm dating myself now, I've probably been close to 15 years ago. And that branded packaging you see will come up with recycled fiber, as much as 90% post-consumer recycled fiber. We also offer reusable envelopes where they can be used multiple times instead of just one. So packaging is still a forefront. We have an area within UPS, a bunch of engineers that are experts around packaging, and we will continue to offer our expertise to customers, not only to TerraCycle, but to any other customer that's looking for help with packaging, whether it's the type of material or the packing material inside, just to keep the product safe.
Fantastic. Well, great to know that companies have a great partner in UPS for packaging solutions and, for working on innovative projects like this. And, Tony, I'd like to come back to you really quickly. We know that health and hygiene was already embedded into Loop's process to maintain consumer trust around a system they may not have been super familiar with, as you were saying. And I'm wondering if you can briefly walk us through how the system works and some of the existing measures that you all had in place that have helped Loop to ensure consumer safety, consumer confidence, as we're all working through the pandemic.
Of course. So I think for us, our process starts with brands and brands that consumers have built up a relationship with, sometimes over 100 years, and they have a lot of confidence. Those brands will create durable packaging with Loop. They will fill their product in that packaging, and we will aggregate that in our warehouses. As individual orders come in, we pick pack those orders, and via our partnership with UPS, we send them directly to the consumer. The consumer will take those products, use them just like they would. As they're empty, this is where behavior change really starts. Those products and packaging will go back into that tote that we've developed with UPS, and it will come back to our warehouse and cleaning facility. At that point in time, we at Loop will reverse pick pack all the different brands packaging and start to aggregate them together. Right, in the Loop system today, globally, we have almost 500 brands participating in the platform. As you mentioned earlier, Mary, we're in the grocery space, personal care, home care, and other miscellaneous products. And all of those products will come back together in the same tote. So it's important that we start to aggregate them by brand and by product. And why that's important is each brand's packaging will have a unique cleaning procedure that is specific to that brand, right? If we're looking at a product like Haagen-Dazs, that is a food product, it's a dairy product. When we clean Haagen-Dazs packaging, we need to have the correct system in place to make sure that we're meeting Haagen-Dazs's very stringent quality control measures, right? What type of ISO certification does our clean room have? Is it coded for allergens? What type of solvents do we use to clean these products? All of that may be specific to Haagen-Dazs and may be completely different for Tide, right? So once we've collected and aggregated enough of our partners' packaging, we will batch clean them independently, and then those clean, sanitized products are staged and sent back to our partners to be refilled and re-enter inventory.
Great, and it's super interesting to hear how these items are sort of separated by brand. Each brand gets different treatments. Each type of product gets a different treatment, which makes sense. But I think that it's kind of interesting for all of us to hear how that sort of works behind the scenes. And to quickly follow up on that, coinciding with the health of consumers right now, as we're all trying to stay safe and as we're sheltering in place, is really the health of employees as well. And as we're all ordering more delivery now, we're all in our homes more, and I imagine that you all are kind of having plenty of business right now. I'm wondering if you could walk us through how you're ensuring that employees can stay safe while they're on the job and while they're serving customers during this time.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's important to note that on the front end, when we're working with consumers in delivering and picking up products, it's not actually Loop. That's where a professional partner like UPS is so important, because they're going to have the correct health and safety measures to make sure that deliveries and pickups are done in a very safe way that protects both employees and consumers. From our end, it really begins at our warehousing and receiving. And again, for us, COVID really didn't change how we operated because it was already part of our core, right? So when we're talking about clean room environments, when we're talking about aggregating and washing products that are going to be, food grade and safe, employees have to have the correct procedures and, most importantly, the correct protective equipment to make sure that they are safe, but also that packaging is going to be cleaned and sanitized in order to be refilled again. So for us, COVID really shined a light on what we were doing rather than change the way that we operate. And I just want to mention again, working with these large brands like a Nestle and a Danone and a Mars, they have very, very stringent quality control measures in place. And right from the onset of our platform, that's where we focused a lot of our energy, making sure that we were meeting and exceeding the same rigorous quality controls that they had in single use was there for reuse as well. And they never would have signed a contract with us and shipped product to consumers unless those facilities were audited. And a lot of those brand partners have very strict protocol into the health and safety of their suppliers. So we had to show not only was the packaging clean and meet their standards, but our facilities and our employees as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Patrick, this is clearly so relevant for you, managing UPS, who's powering all of the home deliveries that we're all getting in our homes right now. And I'm wondering if you can sort of speak to us a little bit about the steps that UPS is taking to provide for employees and keep them safe as they're all out there hard at work, delivering to customers who are sheltering at home.
Yeah, what an interesting question and an interesting time for all of us. We are seeing, deliveries, e-commerce is picking up. It's almost like Christmas time for us, during this whole pandemic, as far as the number of packages we're seeing. UPS has been designated by governments around the world as a critical infrastructure business. So what that means is that we have both the privilege, but also we have the responsibility to continue working safely during this extremely challenging period for all of us. The health and safety of our employees is extremely important. We will continue to provide ongoing support to help our employees manage health risks during this time. We communicate and share hygiene protocols and social distancing information in line with CDC's guidance. We are distributing cleaning materials, personal protective equipment to our employees. Here in the U.S., we are requiring that our employees who work within our UPS facilities and interact with others wear face masks and other types of face coverings. And our facilities and vehicles are cleaned and disinfected throughout the day, with an emphasis specifically on those areas that have frequent touch points. So the health and safety of our employees are extremely important. And, again, you see not just UPS, but all of the frontline workers, all the employees that have been designated as critical during the pandemic. My hat goes out to all of them and all the companies that are doing a tremendous job during this. So thank you.
Absolutely. It's so important that we all, as we are concerned for our own health and the health of our families, that we really remember all of the essential workers out there who are still on the job every day, even as we're all, fortunate enough to be working from home. And it's great to hear how you both are thinking of these folks and working to keep them safe. And we do have a couple of questions from the audience. I'm going to pause briefly here to get to those. But our first question is regarding the rollout of Loop later this year across the continental U.S. And, this person is asking whether or not during this next phase of Loop going across all 48 continental states, if this will also mean that the services will be available in rural areas as well as in cities. Tony, I'm not sure if you feel positioned to speak to that.
Yeah, so I think it's our intention to service all areas in the continental U.S. And again, that's important to our growth in Loop, is to not only service big metropolitan areas, but perhaps people who can't access grocery stores easily now. So yes, it is intended to go continental US. What I would say is it will be an iterative approach. It's a big, heavy lift for us. You can imagine that as a small company in a period of rapid growth, it does come in stages and in steps. And sometimes I have to pinch myself and recognize that Loop has only been shipping product for 14 months. So we still have a long way to go. That growth will include our different temperature controls. So as we start to expand across the continental US, we're likely to start with ambient products to begin with, because as Patrick knows, there was a lot of work that went into delivering frozen and chilled products, and we were restricted to the areas where we launched only because we were shipping frozen products in a supply chain that didn't have refrigerated trucks. It didn't have dry ice. So that's what I mean by it will be an iterative approach.
Mm-hmm. Great. And this next question, I think could go to either of you. Tony, I don't know if you want to jump in first. Patrick, I think you could definitely speak to this as well. But what verbiage, what kind of language can we use to communicate the safety of reusable systems to consumers? How can we kind of describe this to people, especially during this time? Hey, this is something that's good for the environment. It's also safe for you and for your family.
Patrick, do you want to go first, or should I? So I think for us, we really are about trying to create or mimic the single-use experience in reuse. So when you buy a candy bar today, you're never thinking about the health and safety of that candy bar. Most people are not. So I think with Loop, when you're getting a product and you're purchasing a product for the first time, it's coming direct from that manufacturer. And that's why it was so important for us as Loop to partner with the companies that we did, because those companies have enormous departments and safety protocols to make sure that their products are safe. So we really want to convey that trust to the consumer when they're buying products in Loop, versus, you mentioned Starbucks earlier and not being able to bring your reusable cup in. A big reason is we don't know where that cup came from. And if we're talking about verbiage, we don't know how many colony forming units are on that packaging. We don't know what the microbial levels are. We don't know what type of environment it was cleaned in. So those unknowns are scary and risky. So I think for us, when we clean, those are the type of things that we are looking for, right? What allergens, what allergen protocols have we taken to avoid? What are the microbial levels? Is there mold buildup? All of those things are looked at very, very closely.
And I'll just add to that. So, from my perspective, UPS, we don't have a product that we're making, so we're just providing a transportation service. But I think just from putting my sustainability hat and talking from Patrick's point of view, it's about being smart and safe. I think that all of us as individuals have that responsibility to be smart and safe. And just because something is reusable doesn't mean that it's unsafe. And I think if you, as an individual, take those precautions on making sure things are cleaned properly, even though it is a reusable item and not a single-use disposable item, it's going to be safe. And I think that's the end of the day, is that you have to take that individual ownership. That's my message to everyone out there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that. I think we're going to go back into, we have two final questions for our panelists here. Thank you all so much for your questions. You can continue to engage with us on social media after the chat. We're looking forward to any feedback that you might have. But to quickly dive back into kind of what's going on here with Loop in these changing times. But I know that a lot of delivery-based companies are really seeing demands change when it comes to home delivery, when it comes to the way that folks are shopping and their behaviors. And I'm wondering, Tony, what kind of changes in demand that Loop has seen, and what are some of the biggest challenges that these demand shifts bring, and kind of how are you dealing with those?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's funny because we're such a new company and a new business, and we're going through that journey of being a startup to a small company to hopefully a mid-sized company and beyond. And I think we're challenged by a little bit of our own success right now, where people like Loop. And the number one complaint we have is, why can't I get it where I am? So that's where coming to the continental 48 states is such a big jump for us, because we can service more people who want our product, which is wonderful. And then I would say a similar one is assortment. You could imagine that going through the loop process and moving from single use into durable is a very big lift from the companies manufacturing these products. So consumers are saying, this is wonderful, but I still don't have enough of an assortment on loop to completely move away from my traditional weekly shop. So I'm really looking to get more products on loop, maybe some of the brands that I normally would buy who aren't on there today, and some of the products that I can't get in loop that I have to buy in a store. So for us, the way that we're tackling that is by working with more brands. And like I said, when we launched, I believe we had 36 brands globally, and today we're over 500 with a lot of products in development. So for us, we're trying to meet the needs of our consumers, and like I reiterated earlier, we're really trying to make loop look like the disposable experience that consumers have today.
Absolutely, and it really does. Anyone who's used loop, can attest that, the packaging, it's durable packaging, it's reusable, but it looks very similar to what you would expect from a single-use piece of packaging on the store shelf, and, really creates a similar experience for the consumer. And, knowing what we all now know, as you're explaining here about health and safety, this is really a seamless transition, I think, for a lot of people. And I think these types of systems can really go far in terms of changing how people look at all of this. But to kind of wrap things up here, I'd love to put this question out to both of you. We're here observing plastic-free July, but yet, due to some of these factors that we've talked about around the pandemic, it can seem to a lot of us that we might be moving a little further away from a world without single-use plastic. And I'm wondering if you all think that we are kind of seeing a little bit of a backslide right now, and if so, if that backslide is permanent, or do you think that folks are going to kind of go back to what they were doing before in terms of trending away from single-use plastics? What are your thoughts on this? Whoever, Patrick, why don't you go first?
Sure. So I'm going to say I don't believe so. I believe that whatever we're seeing right now is temporary. I think that what we're seeing in the marketplace, that we're going to continue to have a continued interest from our customers in reducing single-use packaging. Right? We mentioned Starbucks already a couple times, and coffee shops like that are not allowing customers bring in reusable cups. I know when I go shopping, grocery shopping in the store, my local grocery store doesn't let me use reusable shopping bags. And I've got to, I cringe every time I go to the store because I got to leave my reusable shopping bags at home and get these plastic ones when I go to the store, and I just can't stand it. So I can't wait until it's over so I can go back to using my reusable shopping bag. So I think that again, it's back to the individual. I think that the passion, I think folks are there to understand the concern. It was a concern before. It's going to be, when I say concern, being reusables and the use of single-use products. It was a concern before. It's going to be a concern as we get out of this pandemic. So, and it doesn't mean that companies like Starbucks or my local grocery store is not committed to reducing single-serve cups or bags. It's just that they have to come accustomed to what's going on today. But I think when we get to the other side of this, and it's, I'm going to put in quotes here, safe again, I think that reusables are going to come back stronger than ever. Like I said, I've got a stack of reusable shopping bags I can't wait to use.
Me too. I miss them. Tony, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think what we're seeing is that the demand from the consumer for sustainability has not gone away, right? If we look at the pandemic, the early days, we all saw the pictures of kind of, wildlife returning to places that they haven't been in years. Pictures of the Himalayas being clear for the first time in decades. So for me, I think people saw that changing our behaviors and habits can directly have an effect on positive environmental change. And I think that's inspired a lot of people. And Patrick is right. We're in a period of adjustment right now. And everybody's going through it, both the consumer and the brands. But I feel as though, and I've seen it from our partners and from our consumers, they're really looking at this period and planning for what comes next, right? A lot of these partners have very public and aggressive goals when it comes to sustainability, and those aren't going away. And while people are working from home and while things have changed, I've personally seen, my phone has been ringing a heck of a lot lately because people are really trying to plan for the future and they want to get ahead of what's coming next. So I think we are in a period of perhaps adjustment, but we've proven that we can have a positive change and people are preparing for what comes next.
Absolutely. I hope so. And I'm personally very excited to see what's next for Loop, for UPS and your sustainability journey, and, for all of us here in this kind of this new world that we're living in. But thank you both, Tony and Patrick, so much for your time today. And thank you to all of you who are here with us. If you have any follow-up questions or any feedback, please feel free to get in touch with us on social media at 3BL Media. And, thank you so much again to both of you for being here today. We really appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Mary. This was a ton of fun.
Great. Thanks so much again, everyone. Take